Well, hello, showy ovarians. 'Tis time for another wildly irregular ovum drop into your fallopian ear tubes. I just thought I'd say hello at the top and give a shout out to anyone who came to see the epic tour of New Zealand we just did with Austin Found. 31 shows from Kaio to Invercargill and many points in between. It felt like we were on tour for 358 years, but we entertained thousands of you and many happy punters skipped off clutching tea towels with sore faces from smiling. And that's just bloody brilliant because there's enough doom and gloom about as it is. Dunedinites was so keen for Austin that we added another show there, and now I've added 3 different shows, actually, of my Dickens musical. It's going to be all on the stage, the seats and the show on the stage of the main stage of the Regent in mid-December. So head to the Regent's website to check out Olive Copperbottom there for that. Otherwise, I've also got a heap of shows coming up all over Aotearoa next year, including my main stage directorial debut, terrifying, of Sense and Sensibility at Circa Theatre. I also just want to give a heads up that the following fascinating chat with forensic pathologist Amy Spark, unsurprisingly, has many themes of death, of actual bodily decay, but also of miscarriage and the trauma of death during pregnancy. It's actually ultimately very uplifting though, and celebrates what it is to be human and our meat suits, as she calls them, with a very bright spark indeed. I also just want to give a shout out to the legend that is Cal Wilson. I just can't believe she's gone. Anyway, I just wanted to mention her name as somebody who was the brightest spark there was, but cue the music. Hello everyone, kia ora koutou, haere mai, and welcome along to another exciting episode with random timing of Showy Ovaries Season 3, a podcast that has previously deep dove under the fleshy womanly covers in the world of menopause, and now in Season 3 is throwing the fishnets wider to encompass bodies of all stages in their bloody glory. As always, I would like to point out that I am not a doctor, but my word, Showy Ovarians, in a podcast first. Not only is my guest today a doctor, but I'm actually coming to you from a doctor's office here in the Paris of New Zealand, Palmerston North, where I am currently performing Promise and Promiscuity. I am here with one of New Zealand pathology's brightest sparks, and I'm sure you've never heard that before.
Totally original.
Thank you very much. She is the regional forensic pathologist for the Northern Forensic Pathology Service of New Zealand. She is a tattoo enthusiast, a qualified yoga teacher, and a self-described fishwife extraordinaire with the worst potty mouth, but I reckon I can give you a run for your fucking money. So please stop driving and give a wild round of applause to Dr. Amy Victoria Spark, MB, CHB, FR, CPA. Hooray!
Thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
So what do all those letters mean?
I know, they're very fancy, aren't they?
Oh, fuck yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll start with the first one, which is MBCHB, which is officially 2 separate degrees, being a Bachelor of Medicine and a Bachelor of Chirurgery, which is French for surgery or something like that.
My word.
So in New Zealand, you
Yeah.
get your Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, which is MBCHB.
Okay.
Places like Australia, it'll be MBBS.
Right, so like
Medical.
biological science.
No, again, I think like medical bachelor, Bachelor of Surgery.
Uh-huh.
In America, it's MD, which is medical doctor.
Right.
But that's that part of it.
That's sort of
Anyway.
like their spelling, isn't it? It's simpler. Like
Yeah.
colour without a U.
Yeah,
We're
it's
just
like,
going to go MD.
Yeah, what are you? I'm a medical doctor.
You're Doogie Howser,
yeah,
MD.
MD.
So then the FC...
FRCPA. So the MBCHB is basically the first 6 years of formal training in the university.
Right.
And then you do a couple of years out in the hospital, and then you decide which specialty you want to go into, and sometimes you decide what specialty of that specialty you want to go into, and then you do fucking horrific exams, and you get on the treadmill and you have no life.
Is that your part 2s?
The part 1s and your part 2s,
Right.
usually
That makes sense
for
too.
most professions.
Yeah.
Yep. So the FRCPA means that I am a fellow of the Royal College of Pathologists of Australasia.
Right. Okay. So what made you decide you wanted to get into pathology? And can you, for the for those of us at home that might not be entirely sure what a pathologist does, what do you do?
Sure. Okay, so the majority of pathologists that are around are usually actually what we call anatomic pathologists.
Okay.
So they often work in a lab, and if you get surgery, you get things taken out or you get things biopsied or that sort of thing. So it's basically live people medicine.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and
right.
pathology is the study of disease.
Right.
So anatomic pathologists will take those things out. They'll describe them. They'll take the right parts of the tumour. So if it's a surgical resection, they'll take the edges to make sure the tumour's not at the end.
To make sure the margins are clear.
The margins are clear.
Right.
And, and take them into tiny little pieces of tissue and stain them and look at them under the microscope. And so that's basically what you do. But I am a forensic pathologist. So I started off doing anatomic pathology, but then I decided to do forensic pathology. So basically I am the doctor of the dead people.
Yeah. So now I'm going to stop you because I feel like I'm an expert because I watch a lot of Law and Order.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
SVU. So I know about contusions and particularly, horrible things with SVU. But yeah, so how much is it not like that?
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't like that.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's amazing. Recently, there's a new show and a friend of mine sent me this thing and she's like, we could play a drinking game with it. Like, you have to take a shot every time something stupid is said. One of those shows.
It's like Bones. Bones was that as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Interestingly.
Not at all. Right.
Interestingly, the author of Bones, Kathy Reichs, when I was 15 years old, I wanted to be a forensic anthropologist. So I emailed her. As you do.
Right, okay, yeah.
And and I emailed her and said, hello, I'm Amy from New Zealand. I'd like to be a forensic anthropologist.
Anthropologist?
Yes, and she messaged back and she said, have you thought about forensic pathology? Because there's a much easier way to get into it. And I sort of said, oh, no. And then I went off into that part. So thank you, Kathy.
Wow.
Thank you, Kathy.
So when you say, what is a forensic anthropologist? Is that like archaeology?
So it's bones.
Just bones. Oh,
yeah.
right.
So looking at the bones.
So bones.
Yeah. So forensic pathology.
Right.
Forensic actually means pertaining to law.
Oh.
So we do all the autopsies that come under the jurisdiction of the coroner.
Right.
And so the coroner accepts all deaths that are natural, unexpected deaths, because natural expected deaths get signed off.
Right.
So we get natural, unexpected deaths, accidents, suicides, and homicides.
So like someone that's had a heart attack in their 50s.
Yeah.
Somebody described the 50s to me as Sniper Alley.
Oh.
I know. It's like once you get through your 50s, so I'm 49, so it's all about
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get, right, okay.
Yeah.
So they're always referred to the coroner if it's an unexpected death.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I probably do autopsies half natural and then half a suicide and accident. And then we get the homicides and suspicious deaths. And we probably average, I probably do about 12 or 15 a year.
Oh, is that all?
For me, so there's me, there's one other pathologist in this area. We cover everything sort of New Plymouth, Gisborne, and then sort of just north of Otaki. So we cover that area.
So that is also, it's interesting because obviously there's a lot of talk about law and order and everything at the moment. But then you just hear those numbers. You can imagine that in, Los Angeles, they do more than that.
Oh, American forensic pathologists, like gun deaths, are their bread and butter.
God, that's
yeah.
dark,
I mean,
it's
really dark.
It's so bleak.
And they come over here, and because we have so few shootings, they get like almost like annoyed with how we treat them because we're so meticulous compared to how they treat them over there with our photographing and things like that.
Oh, wow.
They're just so ubiquitous over there that they wouldn't be able to function if it was like that.
Oh my God.
It's horrific, isn't it?
It really is.
The other thing for them, I think, at the moment is the fentanyl.
Yes. Yes. Everybody's cutting fentanyl with all the things and then people are dying. Yeah. So right. Wow. Okay, and we have hardly any of that as well.
No, we don't get much of that at all.
Yeah, have you had many of that?
Couple.
Right. Okay. See, this is so fascinating. I'm going to do my longer introduction for you. Like, it is all so fascinating to those of us muggles from your world. I call them people that aren't in the theatre muggles, but I think, we can be muggles to your world as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, here's my longer introduction. Amy Spark. Well, now, is it... I know that, I remember when they were talking about changing the name of as was Wanganui, that it was Whanganui was the Te Reo pronunciation, but now everybody seems to be going Whanganui. Do you have an opinion about it?
my opinion is always prefaced with the fact that I'm not the person who has the answer to that question.
Of course. How do you describe
it?
But
a Māori friend of mine who is local, who I asked about it
Yes.
earlier, and she confirmed that my understanding is that there's different local dialects.
Yes.
And there's different emphasis on the hua,
Yes.
and how the hua and the foot is said. So I
Yes.
think it really depends on where you come from. And she suggested that, depending on which camp you're in, the original transliteration of it was incorrect anyway.
Yes, exactly.
And perhaps it should be said with a W because the locals say it. Whanganui.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, and then when I've used that, some
Yeah.
people look at you like you're like, it's actually Whanganui now.
But I also, don't know what I'm talking
Exactly.
about.
We're two Pākehā ladies.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, so
Yeah.
Amy Spark was born in Whanganui in 1982. After completing her schooling there, she clutched her yard glass and headed to Otago Medical School. Woo! Gardies, the cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Then she worked as a doctor in Whanganui, Wellington and Tauranga, where she started specialising in seeing dead people. She concluded her 13 years of tertiary training in Perth and became a consultant. She was the sole forensic pathologist for 3.5 years in Wellington from 2015. Then after a national restructure, she relocated to Paris, aka Palmerston North, and has been here ever since. Happily, coincidentally, where her partner lived. And she has a blended family with 2 stepsons and their shared daughter who is 3.5. She is a trained yoga teacher but doesn't like teaching. I can understand that. A roller derby enthusiast, and also, as so often goes with roller derby, has a tapestry of tattoos. She's a musician, a keen singer. It's Amy Spark. Hooray.
Oh, thank you.
Right, okay. And I have another question for you about what is your favourite tattoo?
Oh, my favourite tattoo.
How many have you got?
Oh,
Because I can't see any.
lots. Shall
Yeah.
I show you
Oh,
some?
please
Is
do.
that all right? Well, we can start with
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wow.
with the arms.
Oh, my word. Look at that. That's an amazing
Yeah.
sleeve.
Yeah.
And flowers, you see. I'm a
Yeah.
floral girl. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
flowers.
A
And what does
little bit
that
of
say?
So that says Nura, which is Syriac or Aramaic and means light,
Right. Lovely.
which was also when I was reclaiming my last name back after misplacing it the first time
What?
in the practice marriage. So
you're a
so,
bright
but
spark.
it's great. So it helps me look towards my spiritual light and maintain that.
Okay.
Got my sacred geometry stuff over here. And
Oh,
my
you've got a skull.
Yeah,
Yes, right.
yeah.
Is that a skull that has a bullet hole?
No, I just come bring it away so you can see the brain.
Oh.
Yeah, because I actually had quite an interest in forensic neuropathology for a while, and I did a placement over in Edinburgh, and really got into it for a while, and so I really like
Right.
brains.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's that.
Cool.
I've got that one.
Oh,
for
my
mum.
God. Look at that. You
Yeah.
need to stand up a little bit. What is that?
And cranes.
Oh, cranes and lots of flowers. I bloody love all the
Cranes and
flowers.
flowers. That
Yes, nice
was
bra.
the first.
Is that a silver fern sort of
Yeah,
thing?
it's sort of ferns and
Right.
That one.
Oh my God,
Anyway,
this is-
we won't talk about that one.
This is such a good
And-
for like a
yeah.
radio medium, isn't it? Oh my
Oh,
God, she's
yeah.
taking her pants
I'm
off.
taking my pants
We've only
off,
just
guys.
met. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy fuck. Oh
Yeah.
my God, look at
Yeah.
all of that. A jump buck.
So we've got a kawa down the back, which
Kawa
is,
kawa, lovely.
which is medicine, rongoa, Māori medicine,
yes.
traditional Māori medicine, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. And then I've got all my
Various
English
animals.
kind of stuff up here, and then all my native
Squirrel.
New Zealand's down here.
Oh my God. Yeah, so choose a favourite one, please. Is that a wetter?
Yeah. Yeah. Got
Love
a
it.
weta. I've got hoo-hoo grubs.
Great.
Yeah. New Zealand giant snail.
Oh my God.
Hood-eating moth.
Wow.
Native bird. New Zealand's native bird, the bat. And
Yes,
then a
indeed.
kakapo. Yeah.
So you've got one leg free to be. Is that
Oh.
are you gonna start on that leg next?
I have actually started. So
down at
that,
the bottom.
that tattoo there,
yeah.
I got at the recent Inked and Empowered down in Wellington, which was a whole lot of female and they artists who were fundraising for Rape Collective
Oh,
in Wellington.
right.
And so you go along, and it was a big festival, so that's where I got that one.
Great. So you paid for a tattoo and that money went to the rape crisis.
Rape Crisis.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
God, look at you. Hilarious.
I know.
Marvelous. So you can't choose a favourite, I'm sure.
No, I can't. And,
No.
and I'm going to be one of those annoying people who doesn't really answer the question properly by saying they've all had their own story and they've all had their own. It's really interesting. Often the meaning, you kind of realise the meaning afterwards. There's some of them that have been kind of almost felt a little bit random at the time, but then have slotted into place.
What was your first one?
My first one was on my side.
Was that
and-
the silver fern?
Yeah.
Right.
That was the first one. So when I was first engaged. Yeah, and so that was about us and our life together.
Which marriage?
The first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's been a learning curve.
Yeah, but I mean, we're all the product of the things that happen to us.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's things that were valuable from going through those experiences that I would never unlearn. And tattoos are amazing. They're one of those things that reminds you of that. And it's really funny. I think the people that go on about, what happens when you get old? How do they look?
So
and all that kind of rubbish.
With
that.
Yeah.
And the thing that for me is when somebody ends up at work, they usually come unclothed and unjewelried. And the only thing often that gives us a peek into them is their tattoos.
Yeah, right.
Or their body mods or their...
Yeah,
whatever.
wow.
And I love it, because sometimes you see these crazy ones on these like unexpected people and you're like, wow, I bet there's a story to that.
What did you get up
Yeah.
to? Yeah, that is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And that's so true that I've thought about it, but I felt like it needed to be something that was very, like you're going to mark your flesh with something permanently. I want it to really mean something. And
but I mean, there's some professions where you realise that the permanence of flesh is debatable too. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to get to my questions,
Yes.
and then we can sort of come back. Oh, there's so much to talk about. So the question I have, which we're sort of touching on anyway, but tell me about the journey with your own body through your life, and maybe how your work has impacted on how you see yourself, etc.
Right. I think I probably had a reasonably typical upbringing. For my family was not religious, but I think we've inherited a lot of waspy behaviours, as you do, the society that we grew up in. So, not a great relationship with my body and never really felt comfortable. I think I did feel comfortable until I was probably prepubescent, and then it starts becoming an issue, and then it's all of the typical things
And the slut shaming if you do have big tits and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean,
even though you were a fucking 13-year-old or something, and it's
luckily my boobs didn't get mahoosive until after the baby.
To mahoosive, I haven't heard that one before. Right, okay.
Mahoosive, 12G, that's mahoosive.
Oh wow, I'm a 10 double G.
Yeah.
Look at us. Look at that.
Like finding bras is just horrendous.
Online.
Online. I think that's the way to go, isn't it?
Definitely.
And I wasn't sporty.
Right.
I was musical, acty and stuff like that. But I think there's something to be said. I always used to go, sports, bleh. But I think, any activity actually where you develop a relationship and a communication with your body, especially at a young age, is actually really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like I missed out on that a lot.
Okay. I think I got that through dance.
Yeah. Oh, definitely you would have. Yeah,
I got a lot of insecurities, but I got...
Oh, yeah.
from my ballet teacher particularly. But I got a lot of...
Yeah, but apparently I didn't go back to my ballet lesson because they wouldn't let me dance on one leg. When I was like 5, I was like, I wanted to dance on one leg. I wanted to dance on one foot, and I wanted to spin.
Like a crane.
Yeah, like a crane, and they didn't let me. And so apparently I put my foot down and said, I'm not going back.
You put your foot down?
Apparently. I know.
Yeah, you could
my one foot that was up in the air because they wouldn't let me do it.
Right, okay, fair. Right, so you felt like dissociated from your body.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did you want to be did you always want to be, if you're writing letters at 15, what about when you were younger? Did you want to be a pathologist?
When I was super young, I wanted to be a vet. But again, my dad's got stories. My dad used to go hunting, and he's got stories of me being about 2 or 3 and apparently being about that, like my nose nearly touching when he was like skinning and gutting the animals, and me going, ooh,
But yet wanting to look.
Yeah. So I think the fascination, I've always had the fascination of how things work. I'm a self-confessed bloody nerd, right? Yeah. Because I remember when I was young, and Mum and Dad were talking about university, and for some reason Mum was referencing a biochemistry term at university, and she said, we spent the entire term learning about eating a ham sandwich,
right?
Ham and cheese sandwich. And she's like, and then she talked about just the whole breakdown of everything that happens when you put the sandwich in your body, and so learning about the body, everything. And so I think from a young age, I got this sort of sense of wonder about the interconnectedness of it, and the
alimentary canal.
Oh, just the body in general, hormones and breaking down. Krebs cycle, for everybody who's ever done university will hate that.
What is that?
It's about how energy is formed in the cell.
Oh, okay. Like the mitochondria?
No, it's powerhouse of the cell.
Yes. I got called a living mitochondria in a review once.
Oh, that is definitely a compliment.
Exactly, but I did have to remind myself of my sixth form biology to go. I think this is good, but I'm not sure. Right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think I got a glimpse into that kind of, that world, that way of looking at the world from a young age.
Right.
And so initially I wanted to be a vet, but then that didn't work because then you had to kill the animals, and I was like, oh, no.
Right.
No,
you prefer them to come to you dead if you have to. Right. Okay. So
no, if I was a vet, I would have liked the live ones.
Yes, obviously more, but yes, you don't put people to sleep. Well, apart from various legislation that I do agree with. But how did you switch?
So I think probably the biggest influence was my mother.
Right.
So mum and dad were both dentists. They were both the first ones in their families to finish high school and go to university.
Wow. Right.
And they were both dentists.
Did they meet in Dunedin?
They did. School? Dad was her lecturer, and it was.
Oh wow! Right, it's very risque.
I know. So she is one of those like suburban housewives who should probably be on the FBI watch list for the books that she buys.
Okay.
You know, we had every book about every serial killer and everything.
Wow.
And, it was insane. And they were both members of the Forensic Dental Society of New Zealand. So I got exposed to the idea at a very young age.
Right.
You know?
So like and bodies and because teeth is very useful for identifying bodies.
Yeah. It's one of the primary identifiers that we use. You know, it's fantastic. And so, you know, and then they told me at a young age, which they probably shouldn't have, about this plane crash where they were the forensic dentists, where they had to like get helicoptered in and get dropped down on the helicopter because it was on the side of a hill, and go around and basically pick body parts off that had like caught in the trees. And I was like, I know it's horrific, but like, you know, 10-year-old me was like, that's amazing.
Wow.
Like, wow.
I wanted to be a ballerina.
Like, I know, I'm weird, right?
No, I mean, just less people are interested. I don't think it's weird. I don't know. I mean, it's so important. Right?
I mean, it really is. And you know, I mean, the other thing is a lot of my colleagues and a lot of people that I've gone through medical school with are like, how do you do that? You know, like, I could never do what you do. And I'm like, guys, I could never do what you do. Can you imagine being a general practitioner?
Yeah.
Those people are insane.
The breadth of knowledge they have to have.
The breadth of knowledge, the open-heartedness, the empathy, the lack of support, the lack of time, the lack of money, the
15-minute appointments.
Like, and especially at the moment, I mean, yeah. You know, but to me, like, also that's an incredible amount of pressure. And, you know, and anaesthetists, right? So, you know, I mean, every doctor likes to bag every other profession. It's kind of like what we do for fun.
Right.
Although I have thoughts around that, and I think we should change that.
Okay.
But, you know, and anaesthetics is, you know, basically 90% just sitting there doing crosswords, and then 10% like sheer abject terror. And I'm like, that is not good for my for my heart. I can't do that. I was a terrible house surgeon. I would take all the people home with me in my head and my heart, and it was awful. It would break me. Right. And I wouldn't be able to do it. So amazing. I've been able to compartmentalize a little bit with what I do. I think it's all tied up with that dissociation with my own body that I've talked about. And interestingly, now I'm actively trying to become more embodied in myself. It's changing my relationship with the job a little bit, which is interesting.
In a good way or a bad way?
This is a really hard way. Yeah. Like realizing the gravity of what I'm doing and the way that it's affected me. And you know, when I previously thought that I was compartmentalized, like that you can't, everything that represses finds a way to express itself.
Right.
So.
And did like having a child?
Oh, that's huge. I mean, having a child is a pivotal point in lots of people's lives for lots of different reasons.
Because you were a bit older than the average person.
I was. Yes. I was. I had a bit of a journey with that one as well.
Okay, right.
But Ruby actually was conceived very easily, and everything was fine, and we were very lucky. But the journey of motherhood and medicine and being,
making time.
Figuring out when in your career you're going to do it, and then you disrupt your life with training. You've got to go overseas and change everything. It's horrific on people's relationships. You know, I've got lots of very good friends, and I was very nearly in the position myself where now they're at 40 and they're consultants and they're finally getting money and they're getting their life sorted out. Kind of, you know, finally realize that their partner's a bit of a fuckwit, and then they can't actually have a kid with them, and then. There, you know, like I actually when I met Dave, one of the first things I said to him was like, well, I just decided I'm going on the sperm donor waiting list, so I might be having somebody else's baby. but I would really like to carry on dating you.
Wow.
If that works. And he sort of had this like, rabbit in the headlights look.
Yeah.
And then he sort of went away and thought about it, and he's like, no, it's all good. But the state of sperm donation in New Zealand is such that it takes 2.5 years or something.
Wow.
So I got a phone call when Ruby was 6 months old saying you're at the top of the list.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, okay, well, congrats, because I've never wanted children in the slightest. So,
But I mean, and how wonderful is that?
It is wonderful to be sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think if there's any disconnect in what you want and what you end up with, and erroneously, I think we call it a choice sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and it is a choice from bodily autonomy sense, but and kind of like in a universe kind of sense. Sometimes you can want pregnancy as much as you want, but you can't get it. You know, like, and that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that consume friends. So I have felt lucky that I haven't had that drive.
Yeah.
Because, I was single. I met my husband when I was 35.
Yeah.
So, like it was sort of late in the piece, and he was as ambivalent as I about breeding. So we just have not done that.
Yeah.
Which has been pleasing for us. But, it's great that and it was great that you got somebody who was prepared for that.
Yeah.
Especially having been there before.
Yeah. And then he was a stay-at-home dad, so I could carry on with my career.
Right, okay. So was your mother good at talking to you about body stuff? I mean, presumably. And maybe not just dead body stuff, but actual.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were quite progressive. I mean, we came from generations of atheists, so we were, pretty, yeah.
I'm on board with that.
So you had a pretty liberal view from it, and Mum was pretty honest about, things like sex life and things like that. Like we got to the point that where we would talk very openly about everything like that, and it was great, and it fostered. I never felt that I wanted to or had to keep anything from her. It was never a point of conflict with us.
Great.
And she tried as much as she could, but that Philip Larkin poem,
they fuck you up.
They fuck you up. They do.
Yes.
And they in turn were fucked up by their parents.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So she did incredibly well with the tools that she had.
But some things slipped through.
Some things slipped through, and there's things that I've been fucked up with just as much as any other woman, I think.
About just body image.
Just about body image and stuff like that. But in my older years, that's why I love roller derby so much.
Yes, right.
So I came to that actually just after my mother died. And
I didn't realise that, so commiserations.
Yeah.
When was that?
That was in 2009.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
She was
and
young.
then my dad died in 2010. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Cancer. Well,
right.
Yeah. But roller derby for me was so I'd never been sporty ever. I think part of me at that time had started realizing the concepts of like fixed beliefs and how restrictive they can be.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a sportswoman.
Right. Yes.
So I'm like, nah, fuck it. Nah, I had this amazing tech that I worked with, Emily. Oh, she's fantastic. And she was doing it, and she took me under her wing, took her along. And for somebody who's never been physical before, like learning a physical skill.
Screaming muscles,
learning to bang into people and hit them, and like, and then the biggest thing is you get up and say sorry, and everybody's like, don't say sorry, and you're like, whoa, what, oh my god,
yeah,
and
wow,
it's a real mind fuck, you know,
it
like,
is.
and it's great. And then you come up to each other and you say you got bruises, and we used to call them derby kisses, and you'd be like, hey, look, this derby kiss you gave me,
because I've got thrombocytopenia.
Oh,
so I'd be fucked, which, if you don't know, is very, very easily bruised. I'm a delicate peach. I would be a nightmare.
You would.
You like pole dancing, I'd be like, I did something like, and you just get bruised. So it was
you'd
like,
be like, what's happening to you at home?
I'd be a terrible stripper. My father does that as a joke, which I'm not sure I'm on board with. He's like, I've told you to leave him.
That's so funny. Once when I was a trainee in Perth, I was fixing a friend's door, and a wooden pelmet fell down and broke my nose.
Oh, fuck.
I know. It was horrific. It was horrific. And I had these, oh my God, the black eyes were amazing though. Wow. And it was, my boss kept on wanting to biopsy it so we could look at it under the microscope. And I was like, fuck off, Clive.
Right. Okay. But anyway,
this is the kind of support you get from, but because I was doing homicides, and you go in and you get the police photographers, like for a month, I swear I had police officers come take me aside. Is everything okay at home?
Which is actually pretty delightful,
I know,
isn't it?
it really is.
Yeah, that was very delightful. My dad's being a dick about it, but yes. Anyway, but you loved being bruised and bashed around.
Yeah, and I loved gaining a physical skill.
Yes, and strength.
And strength as an adult. Like, I mean, I think it was the beginning of my journey into my strength and loving my body.
Great.
And then, so
yes,
it's the
so
same.
you can appreciate what it's given you for the first time.
Yeah.
Before you've had a child. Yeah. And then, do you go to the gym now and stuff?
Well, I haven't for a while.
Okay.
But I'm doing my yoga.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right. So that came after that, did it?
But I went through a phase, I went through a phase where my yoga was going up, which was I was really loving. And I also found this boot camp with girls, and they were a bunch of badass girls, and they were great. And so we did that. And then me and one other girl ended up doing CrossFit.
Right.
And so I was doing
change.
hardcore yoga and hardcore CrossFit at the same time, which were actually incredibly complementary.
But
so that
what
was
a change.
Yeah, so
From nothing.
having strength and flexibility was
Yeah.
so from nothing
To
being able to do
everything.
things. Yeah, and I remember at CrossFit like being able to climb a rope.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is me. I'm I'm sorted with life. If I ever fall down a hole, throw me a rope, I'll be fine.
I've seen a bit of that in Law and Order
amazing.
and SVU.
I'm amazing.
Yeah, you are amazing.
Yeah.
And so then what, you came back to New Zealand and there was no roller derby to the same extent?
I tried it a couple of times, but it's a wonderful sport, but because there's not a whole lot of people doing it, when you do it, you've got to be really committed, and they expect a lot. So they expect a couple of trainings a week, and you've also got to be a part of a committee and blah, blah, blah. And when I was, first starting out as a consultant and running a department by myself and everything like that, I just went off, and they just went off the boil.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I love it, and I love it for what it is, and, there's a lot of positive stuff about it. It's really cool.
So what are you doing now for fitness, yoga?
Mainly, just yoga.
Right.
Just yoga. But it's sort of... it's helped me deprogram what I learned from mum about, the self-criticism that we have from our body.
Yeah.
Because you realize that we each have this tiny, at our essence, we're all part of that divine oneness or whatever, depending whatever religion you go, whatever. And we've been given this magnificent body,
that does amazing things.
It does amazing things.
Like
you
especially
can touch, you can smell, you can
birth,
you can orgasm, you can so you can talk, you can relate, you can build things, you can.
And do you think your training has really informed this joy from the body, or also the fact that you see people that are dead before their time?
Yeah,
so that must make you appreciate the time that we have.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think that has made me realize that the whole idea that if you're a good person, nothing bad will happen to you is bullshit.
Yes, it is.
Because
and everything doesn't happen for a reason, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's just like, everything I guess has a learning opportunity from it if you want to be positive about it. But actually, like, shit's just going to happen. So,
and you're there at the end to see it.
From that point of view, it's given me insight into the presentness of life, in a way, not as well necessarily on mindfulness as I could be. I think it sort of gives you an inherent kind of anchor there with that, because you don't,
I'm not a mindful person. I think I'm a mindful person, but I don't practice.
Yeah.
I hate yoga. I get so bored.
Yeah.
All that sitting still and breathing. It just drives. I know you're holding muscle. Yes, I get it. But it's I do spin classes and weights and
have you ever tried like vinyasa or like a hot flow, strong flow yoga?
I just get very bored in yoga.
Oh, you wouldn't get bored with those ones. Those ones waste you.
Yeah.
But I started off with vinyasa. It's like the gateway yoga.
Okay.
It's like the gateway yoga, and then you get into the hardcore ones, like like Kundalini and Yin.
Right.
Whoa.
Okay.
Those things are good.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, we used to do it because it so often seems to go hand in hand with drama. It's like, we're going to start with yoga for the word rehearsal. I was like, oh, fuck. So I'll just come later. But, to each their own.
Yeah.
So then how do you reckon, can you tangibly say how this sort of has fed into making it a bit more tricky with what you do for a job?
Yeah, bodies are funny, because it's a lot of people say, like, how can you do your job? And I'm like, actually, we are doctors and we are looking after these people, because they're their bodies, we are their last.
You must take that very seriously.
Yeah,
right?
oh, absolutely. We're their last voice, from that point of view.
Yeah.
And
you tell the story that they can't anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, wow.
It's hard medicine is hard because it's hard to do it right and with heart. Because if you let everything affect you, it can mess you up. Yeah. But then if you close your heart off, then what do you become?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the problem with medicine.
Yes.
That didn't answer the question you asked.
But again, because I watch a lot of Grey's Anatomy, I know exactly what that's like. But I remember that, there's one doctor that stopped doing, what were they doing? I can't remember. And moved to neonatal because they couldn't deal with most of their medicine being about sickness and death, that they wanted to go to birth. And, and so I can sort of see that as well.
Sure. If you're going to let it affect you that much, you're probably in the wrong profession.
Right.
If you're going to let it upset you.
I mean, it was Grey's Anatomy. So.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Do you hate Grey's Anatomy?
Oh, actually, it was quite good. It's actually quite accurate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Except for the one time that Christina Yang said hematomacrosis instead of hemochromatosis. It was very disappointing.
Especially her.
I know.
She's like...
I was like, Christina, I am disappointed in you.
Sandra Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you're finding now that you're getting a bit more... Like, so what is it about these bodies that you... I mean, obviously we don't want to specifics because that's disrespectful. But like, you know, with your own self, is it something about mothers now that gets to you more? Or is it...
Children, definitely. Oh my gosh, the first day after my maternity leave, when my daughter was 6 months old and I went back to work, I had to do an autopsy on a 6-month-old baby.
Even that? Oh, wow.
And I was like, are you
fucking kidding
serious?
Right.
You serious? This is my first day back.
Wow. And
thanks, universe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, and how was that?
Like shit, but fine.
Right.
Like, yeah.
I guess it's the first notion you go shit and then you just get on with your job.
Because, you know, that's one of the reasons why I did this job is because not many people can do it.
Yeah, well.
Because, and that's not through no, like, you know, amazing thing, but it's just the way I'm put together.
Oh,
you know,
no,
like it works. So, you know, and I'm trained to do it, and you know, so these are the cases that we have to do, and you know, I mean, it's the hardest thing because it's the cases that you don't want to do, but they're the ones that actually that's why you do the job, and that's the thing that contributes much back to the people that you. I mean, want to serve your community.
That notion of you being their last voice is quite strong. Like that's quite powerful.
Yeah.
And have you had a lot of the family and friends? Like, do you deal with them at all?
We don't a lot.
Right.
There's different ways of doing it. I always welcome it. If they want to talk to me, then my door is always open.
But they don't generally.
They don't generally.
Do they know they can?
I don't know because we don't deal with them.
Yeah.
But
it would be so interesting to know if that, you know, how much comfort it gives them. Or, I mean, and I guess sometimes you know that it's going to be very painful what that you have to say. Yeah.
But the few times I've done it, you know, I mean, there's lots of questions and it's often, you know, the purpose of what we do the autopsies for is to find out why they died. That's never the question that we get from families.
No. Was it painful?
Did they suffer? Were they conscious? Would they have felt that? Would they have known that I was holding their hand? Would they have, you know, all that kind of stuff? Like, is there something I could have done differently?
Yeah.
You know, those are the questions. And being able to answer that and give them a little bit of peace is nice. It's a hard job, though, because we don't get thanked.
You don't get thanked.
Because, you know, like if I do a good job, it's still awful.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm thanking you.
Oh, wow. Thank you for thanking me.
No worries. Because that's the thing, it's all so important. And, you know, yes, there aren't that many people that want to do it.
No.
And we need people that are passionate from a young age about it.
Well, clearly. Yeah.
Did you watch lots of shows like that?
I actually
Silent
did.
Witness. That was the big one.
Wow, I never watched Silent Witness, no, but I did. I heard it's quite good. I heard it's quite good. I read a lot. I've read a lot of Kathy Reichs. I read a lot of Patricia Cornwall.
So you devoured all of that. And how accurate are they?
Pretty good. So Kathy Reichs is a forensic anthropologist. I think Patricia Cornwall, was a legal assistant in a pathologist's office. So the science is relatively solid, but I think, you know, the certainty with which they ascribe a finding is not, which is often the case with a lot of these things. They're like, oh, he was left-handed and walked with a limp. And you're like, fuck off. You know, you can't tell that.
That's very funny. Right, okay. Now I'm going to ask a question that I think some people will be listening will want to know about, and feel free to tell me to fuck off. But, so the actual dealing of actual bodies, like the odor, the, you know, like all of that, like the gases, what is that like?
So first dead body I saw was I think my grandfather when I was like 6. And I don't really remember it, but apparently I was very angry. And I think because like just to marry up, you know, the idea of death and things like that. So
I wonder, I may have seen my grandmother when I was 10, but I don't really think so. The only one I can really remember seeing is my aunt, and that was not that long ago. So I mean, it is, you know, and for me, it looked like my aunt, but her face looked like it had slipped slightly. Like it was just something like she definitely wasn't there anymore.
I remember seeing my dad, and it's just like,
after all your training,
it's like they lose that thing that makes them them.
Like their essence.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, I know.
It definitely wasn't there anymore.
Yeah. So I had that, and then I had. I probably didn't see another dead body then until. So first body would have been. Well, first year university, you get pro-sections, which are like bits of bodies that have basically been embalmed and handed around the class to look at anatomical structures and things like that.
Right.
And then
you get your cadaver, don't you?
Yeah, we get a cadaver in second. So in second year, one body would have second years and third years working on it.
Wow.
So the second years would be doing all the limbs and the musculoskeletal anatomy, and the third years would be doing the internal organs. So it was super funny because that was the one class that I was always at.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt a little bit sad for the people that were in my group, but
they couldn't get a look at.
Yeah. And
right.
So I loved it. I loved like learning the skills with the scalpels, you learning blunt dissection, learning the different anatomical structures. It was just awesome. And then after that, it would have been, I went to a couple of autopsies when I was in med school as well to go and have a look at them. And then in my final year of medical school, you get a chance to do an elective. So you get to go anywhere in the world.
Right.
So randomly, because I'd done medicine, I also thought, maybe I could be a plastic surgeon and like do reconstructive surgery.
Right.
Because that's so the same as forensic pathology,
Not really.
Bizarrely.
Yeah.
So I went into 2 months in Edinburgh doing forensic pathology, which is the birthplace of forensic pathology. And it was really, really, really awesome.
Right.
And then I did a month doing plastic surgery in Cyprus.
Right.
Don't get plastic surgery in Cyprus.
Oh.
Anyway.
Oh.
But so and then I started doing bodies then, and I think it was a sort of a slower introduction to the grossness. Strangely, the first time I came across them, like it's kind of different when you've got to do it. And it's different when you have your PPE on.
Yeah, right.
Which is a mnemonic that we all know
now.
from COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Not before that.
No.
But, you get all your PPE on, and it's a little bit like donning your armour.
Yeah.
And a little bit like having, okay, I've got everything. And because, I can do anything with that. I can pick up maggots and do all sorts of things.
Do you do that when you were doing all your all your pathology, you wear full PPE?
When we're doing the autopsy, yeah.
Yep. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. And the smell is just something you get used to.
It's something you get used to, know.
Because we've all smelled like that dead rat or something, and it's got that sickly sweet. Yeah. Wow. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get used to it. And the thing is that, so once you breathe in, your nerve endings in your cribriform plate, which is at the back of your nose, if they get saturated with whatever, then you actually stop smelling it after a while.
Yeah, right.
So, you get all these...
you get used to perfume, so yeah.
Yeah, get used to it.
Yeah.
That doesn't, it also is gross, and sometimes if you've had a particularly disgusting day... Other people can smell it on you when you get home.
Oh, wow.
And your hair and things. And
so you have a lot of showers. Yeah. And just the consistency of flesh that changes and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Decomposition is, it's incredible.
Do you learn all about that as well?
Oh, yeah.
Because we've, I've been watching, I sound like such a cliche, but I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Law and Order, but it was talking about the different types of microbes that, which meant that it's at whatever stage of decomposition. And there was no pupa, which means that it's still newish.
Right, yeah. So that's forensic entomology, right?
Yes.
So that's the study of bugs.
Yes, and around bodies that you can then track the decomposition.
Yeah. The idea being that I believe, and I'm not a forensic entomologist, that each particular generation or group of bugs has particular characteristics, and if you can recreate the temperature and the conditions and grow it up, then you can see how long that generation takes to grow. So then that can give you an idea
of the time of death.
Yeah,
etc.
but it's not actually really used anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Just
the television,
like not enough to give you an answer that you could use for anything,
and that you could probably find a different way anyway.
Yeah. This is the thing that I teach all the detectives. I go and lecture at the police college and do the detective qualifying course.
Right.
And I always ask them, what is the best way to tell when somebody last died? And they're la, 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 la. And I'm like, when they were last seen alive. And the circumstances, like if they've got X's on the calendar up to X date and, and then letters piling up from that date, it's a pretty good indication that that's when they died.
So do you do all that? You go into a crime scene and do all that?
No. The police do that.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because I did my training in Perth in Western Australia, which is very, very hot.
Yes.
So, and then you realise how much, I mean, historically, forensic pathology was interesting because it used to be a lot of old white men standing on the stand and opining without real little evidence base behind them, and that's changing. So it's really interesting.
How unusual and strange.
I know.
Hardly the same in anything.
I know.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
So using it with certainty is the issue.
Yeah, and the difference between Perth and the Edinburgh climbs are very...
exactly. So, all the textbooks coming out of places like Edinburgh, and you're saying that, rigor mortis is over this amount of time, and you're like, you put that in a 40-degree climate, and I guarantee you that changes.
And rigor mortis doesn't actually last that long, am I right?
No, I mean, the idea is that you can say if the body is like warm and floppy, it's X to X amount. If it's warm and stiff, it's up to that amount. If it's cold and stiff, it's that long, and then it goes.
Right.
And then the rigor passes.
Right.
But, that period, so maybe 36 hours.
Yeah, right.
In a sort of temperate place.
Right.
If you go up, you can go through that.
Right,
in a
okay.
day.
And so is there something that you find with bodies that you can tell that they're menopausal, postmenopausal, like that sort of thing?
Not reliably,
Right.
not reliably post-mortem. There's
Okay.
because the interesting thing is there's some things that you can test for in blood that stay stable after death, and some things that don't. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And live doctors don't understand this either.
Okay.
Live people doctors. I am also a live doctor.
You are a live doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hormones do they change after death?
You can't really measure hormones after
Right.
death.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
difficult to measure them during life because they change every bloody
I mean, we
day
can
as
do
well.
pregnancy tests post-mortem.
Right. Okay. That's-
So sometimes if we want to do an external early examination, if they don't want a full post-mortem and it's somebody that you want to worried if they're pregnant, we can do that. I mean, we can do it on blood anyway. But no, not hormone levels.
Right. That was just
No,
interesting.
but it's interesting the marks of childbirth on the body are interesting.
Yeah.
Your abdominal striae that you get.
So the stretch marks.
Stretch marks.
Right. Yes. See, I have those. I have those anyway.
Yeah, I've got them on my legs, but
Yeah.
I never got them on my tummy when I was pregnant,
Right.
even. So
Yeah, I got the ones on the hips.
Yeah, the hips and the
Yeah.
the thighs.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh. I mean, it's just interesting, like there's very few things that kind of give you an insight to people, and I don't know, pregnancy does, and you can tell from the shape of the cervix whether or not they've given birth,
Right.
and that's really sort of interesting, and I don't know, it's just kind of one of the things that's on my radar.
And you weigh all the organs and stuff
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Right. That must like sort of weighing a heart. And it's so
Yeah.
interesting too, isn't it? That we metaphorically put so much meaning into different organs that don't actually, like your heart, yes, it is because it beats and it keeps you alive, but we put so much emotion into our heart, but then it's just a lump of flesh. Like, do you have any perspective on the way that humans mythologize different body parts?
Oh, absolutely. So, the word hypochondriac comes from?
No.
So hypo meaning under, chondro means cartilage.
Oh,
So it's the organ that is under your cartilage, which is where your spleen.
right.
So your spleen was thought to be the source of all emotions.
Right.
And so if you had an imbalance in your spleen, you were a hypochondriac.
Right.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they thought that the spleen regulated emotion.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I've got this. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've read. I've had this fascination. I think I've got a couple of books like The Soul Made Flesh and things like that,
Yeah.
which is about the progression of science and what we thought. Going from when medicine thought about the four humours.
Yes. Bile.
Yeah.
And so on.
Yellow bile, black bile, blood, and
Yeah.
phlegm or something.
And that the uterus wandered around the body
I
and
know.
infected our brain with feeble lady things. That sort of
I know.
shit.
I do love the bit when they prescribed women orgasms to treat their
Yes.
hysteria, though. I'm
Yes.
just like, boom.
Yeah. We should bring that back.
I
But
should bring that back, maybe.
but not by doctors.
No.
With
I mean,
steam
it depends on the doctor, I suppose.
There's someone Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Steam-powered vibrators. They
Yeah.
sound like dodgy. Right. It's so funny. You totally come alive when talking about all of this. Like,
Oh, that's
it's
so
just-
weird.
It's so exciting to you. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Well, there's that notion of 27 grams, isn't it? That's what a soul weighs.
Something like that. Something like that.
Yes.
But it's fascinating, and there's stuff like that, and it corresponds to my journey with my yoga stuff as well, right? Because I mean, if you learn about energy systems and things like that, chakras, and if you understand it trying to understand it, that it actually does make sense in the Western medical model.
Right.
I mean, this is the thing about a lot of this sort of woo stuff. People think that's woo, and it's I mean, you've got the Gwyneth Paltrows of the world, which does not help.
No, it does not.
Does not help. Do not stain your vaginas, ladies.
Yeah, really don't.
Do
do
not
that.
steam the vagina. It is self-cleaning.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I know, she's a piece of work.
But there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom in those systems.
Well, energy flow makes sense. You know,
really does.
It really
but then
does.
I'm like, then why is the heart on the left and not in the middle? I mean, anatomically I know it is, but I don't know why it is energetically, so I'm going to have to find that one out.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
let us know.
That is quite interesting.
Yeah, I do find, because it's the human condition to try and understand things and make things in ways that we can understand. And, isn't it so funny? It's the fundamental, the thing that has got us all around through our lives, but has been such a mystery. And, and women's health is still quite a mystery, like for so many different conditions that they still haven't really looked into or understand, or things like not taking care around clitoral function during surgery because who gives a shit about that?
And you know that the fact that a lot of the reference ranges that are made and like laboratories and blood and dosing for drugs and everything like that, that's all males because they haven't done it for females.
Have you read the book?
Let alone non-white people.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you read the book Invisible Women?
No.
You should read that book.
Yeah.
It's all about that. And it's all about things like just even the notion of commuting. So commuting was around the breadwinner, aka man, getting into town and out again. So it's all about arterial roads, public transport systems that go like that. But they don't think about the woman traditionally, obviously changing, like your husband, getting to the childcare, getting to the school, which is generally going against all that flow. Yeah. And then with tiny little streets. And so it's dangerous for strollers to be getting, just even fundamentals like how a town is actually designed is for that.
I know, the patriarchy is strong.
The patriarchy is strong.
It's it's in all of our thinking. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Town planning, architecture.
Everything.
Fucking everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, back to you. What is your favourite body part?
What is my favourite body part?
I mean, of your own, not of other people's.
Of my own? I was just going to say of other people's.
Both. Let's go with both.
Of other people's, I love the cerebellum and the medulla because it's beautiful.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So you cut open, you cut down the vermis, which is the middle of the cerebellum, and you open up, and it looks like beautiful tree fronds.
Looks like cauliflower.
Yeah, well, it's called the cerebellifolia, like foliage, like the leaves on a tree.
Right.
And it's beautiful.
And you can just imagine the thoughts that used to zing around in there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then the medulla as well. If you cut it a certain way, it has a butterfly shape, and it has these little olives in it, which are these beautiful little squiggly structures. Oh my God. It's just divine.
Yet again, you're lighting up.
I know.
And then
which is funny.
No, it's good. It's good. We need passion in people's jobs. People need to love their jobs. Yeah. Otherwise, people don't do jobs.
Yeah, that's true. In times when I'm like, oh, am I really suited for this job? Then, somebody comments on that. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I just in my brief moments with you, I feel like you're in a
maybe I'm in the right kind of area.
I think so. So what's your favourite body part of your own?
My favourite body part of my own? Oh, that's a hard one. You did prep me for this.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I like my boobs.
Your boobs. Excellent.
Like my boobs.
Pre-baby or post-baby? Or both?
I mean, the correct answer should be both. The vain answer is before. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But actually the considered true answer is both.
Yeah. I mean, you did nourish a being. That's pretty fucking amazing, isn't it?
I know. Aren't women just sensational? We are the bridge between the ethereal, the eternal, and the physical world. Mm-hmm. We are amazing.
Yeah.
We are amazing.
Yes, there we go.
And we do that.
Say it again for the people on the back.
We are amazing. And then you learn what pregnancy does to women's bodies. Holy shit.
And in a good way or a
bad way? No, in a horrific way.
I know. That's why.
Oh my God. Those things are parasites. They suck the life out of you. They will take all of the goodness and leave you as a husk.
Right. I know, which is why this notion that people should just have abortion, or like, again, I was watching, oh my God, my whole thing is Law and Order. But there was, great. It was around the abortion debate and this woman saying, oh, I was so happy that I gave birth, even though my child only lived for an hour because of its severe genetic thing. I would have so much rather have done that. And I was just like, oh my God, the absolute indifference to the wreckage of that it can cause on a female body, which you could have, stopped way ago at conception when you knew about this. No judgment if you don't want to.
But equally, that's great for you.
Yes.
But, exactly. But we're actually about empowering what's right for everybody, not just what's right for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, if you don't have to go through that trauma of giving birth, which, it is.
I have had to sit in when they had to tell the mother that the baby's died.
Oh, you've had to be there for that?
Yeah, as a med student,
oh my God. Yeah.
33 weeks, like it's...
And that's the thing, of course, no one's doing, even, and if they do choose to do that at point, they're not doing it, they wanted a child.
Yeah.
They wanted a child.
Yeah. And, and nobody thinks about, well, what happens, you don't give those women cesareans because it ruins the uterus, and then that affects their chances to have other babies. So these poor mothers have to give birth to these children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, how horrific must that be for them?
I can't even begin to imagine. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Do you have a least favorite part of your body?
It used to be my legs when I was growing up, but actually when I'm older, it's been my neck.
Your neck?
My neck, but it is also my most favorite part of my body in a way as well. I see that scar.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah, so I needed to have a neck fusion when I was 30.
Right. What's that mean?
So the disc in between my vertebrae was pushing back, and it was pushing out onto one of my nerve roots.
Oh, my God.
And compressing it.
That sounds painful.
And my right arm was wasting away and was stopping working.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And are you right-handed?
Yes.
So your scalpel was suffering?
It wasn't too bad, but I was hyper-reflexive and all sorts of things. So I had to have a neck fusion. And this is, normally these are on the basis of an injury, but I hadn't really had any injuries from that stage. So I mean, I actually think it's this whole, I've spent my life in my head looking forward, which is, posture. So this is the other thing that I've noticed about bodies.
Right.
Is thought becomes posture, becomes form.
Right.
Yes, and so you see that with the oldies,
Yeah.
you see the different positions that their bodies are in, and the different tension they hold in different ways and stuff like that, and it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see, like a lifetime of worry of a certain thing made flesh, literally.
But you think, and you think about it though, like, and when you have an emotional reaction to something, like you hitch yourself up, right? And then if you don't let that go, then you just work around it, and it's all tense.
Yeah, right.
So we noticed that. So anyway, so my neck started off that. So now that I've had the surgery, it required a lot of work. It's painful. It's chronic pain level kind of stuff, and it's soul destroying.
Oh, right. Okay.
Like I'm sure it's people with endometriosis or chronic pain and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's that level. It's that level, and it sucks. So. Yeah. But equally, it's my favourite part of the body because it is the thing, it is the tool that is helping me become embodied and not in my head anymore.
Oh, okay. Right.
And I find that the more that I listen to it, the better it becomes.
Good. Do you have a least favourite part of the body of other people?
That's a good question.
Oh, thank you. I try.
I mean, it's never nice, like, having to look in somebody's bowel.
I was thinking that. I was like, is it steroid? Yes, that makes perfect sense. Right, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Can't sugarcoat that one.
No, and I feel like we can't end on that.
Can't end on that end.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you feel that how does your body serve your goals now? Like your
okay. So I mean, it lets me do things, which is great.
Yeah.
Like I'm physically still able to, I've got fine motor skills. My eyes are starting to get a bit old.
Oh yeah, 41 are you?
41.
Yeah. I got them at 43. Apparently that's deeply normal.
What was the question?
How does your body serve your goals?
Serve me now. Yeah, so, it lets me do things. It doesn't get in the way too much, but it tells me when I'm doing too much. Which is good as long as
especially
I listen to it. As long as I listen to it. That's the part that's the difficult thing. Yeah. It's just, it allows me to engage with my daughter, and the joys of looking at the world through her eyes and re-centering myself on that, grounding myself, spending time outside looking at the flowers on the weeds in the garden.
Yeah.
Like
I remember learning that they were weeds. But I'm
like,
but they're
so pretty.
Exactly.
They're so pretty. We get this thing where we put like sellotape around the wrong way and we make a little bracelet and we go out and put little flowers on it.
So you're quite determined to try and not let her, it's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you think, they fuck you up, your parents do, etc.
I know. But yeah, I think I've come to a realization that equally, none of us can get through life being protected from any of that. And Ruby's going to have whatever she's going to have.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be able to. The only thing I can do is give her the skills that I think are important.
Absolutely.
To help her get through that.
Absolutely.
But I think that's part of the job, is that you realise how important the rest of it is. Like I do the awful stuff, but I try quite a lot to balance it with. It makes you aware of that. And the job kind of makes you really aware that this is this is it. I think a lot of people are scared of death because they're scared of how they're going to die and they're scared of what happens afterwards. You know.
Are you?
Nah.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a product of the job or if I was always like that.
Okay.
But if it is a product of the job, I think it's because I've seen how most people die, confronting factors that we're all going to die.
Yes.
And, you know, some ways are just a little bit better than others.
Yes.
So, you know, I've got preferences, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's that. And then I guess afterwards, the what happens, well, I mean, that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about at all, or like send out to anybody that's like hung up on their body or anything like that from what you've seen, or just whatever? You don't have to.
Oh, look, I mean, there's beauty in everything, and I think, you know, one of the turning points for me when I realized we're all just our own little spark of divine in our own little meat suit. Okay, like, but the meat suits, even the ones that you don't think look great, like these meat suits, damn, they're programmed well,
right?
You know, like they are fantastic, and they let you interact with the world. So break down what beauty means. That is beautiful,
right?
Like, actually, I'm going to be really nerdy, looking at organs down the microscope and seeing the individual cells and seeing how they fix together and getting a real sense of that as part of my job, and the art and the beauty of it is, it's just, you know, I mean, these bodies are magnificent, you know, and it makes me so angry when I realize how we are programmed to dislike them and dissociate, and you know, it's the best sort of growth of my life is becoming more embodied, and I've been lucky enough to have that reflected in my work, I think. Yeah. Back to me, and I think that's really helped me understand the just amazing miracle that the body is.
Yeah, wow. The amount I asked that question, what's your journey with, and so many is like, I hate it, it's toxic.
Yeah.
You know? So that's
but mine's not, you know, I'm starting to go grey and I love it. Oh. You know, I'm getting wrinkles, but that's because I laugh. Yeah. You know, and my mother died when she was 54. Yeah, well. And she didn't have a chance to get old, so I'm... Yeah, that will really do it too. Yeah, that does it. That does it. Yeah, right. Well, on that note, thank you very much. You're most welcome. And good luck with it all. Good luck with your child rearing and telling the stories of those who can't tell them anymore. Thank you. I really like that. I try my best. Well done. Thank you. Gold star. Thank you. Excellent.